Hi folks, and welcome to Community Pulse. I'm your host Brian Lamore. On today's show we have a very interesting guest. He makes fine furniture, has been making it here in Helena for quite a while, and you talk about fine, I say it's more like art. It's wonderful to go through his studio when they have the art walks, or I'm downtown. I've actually taken some classes from him, so he teaches, he offers interesting things, and he's being recognized nationally for a unique product. I'd like to welcome to the show Al Swanson, furniture maker.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Well, let's start at the top. You're a furniture maker. How did you start in furniture?
Well, it's pretty easy growing up in New England when I grew up on a farm and had lots of siblings and of course surrounded with trees and the need for my father to build things for in our barn and for our house and things like that. So I was exposed to from cutting firewood and watching my dad and brothers build things that we needed to have from a very early age. So, and then as that grew and as I grew, I just really developed this passion and this love for working with the trees that I grew up with, and developed this real innate responsibility to take that product and give back. And then thankfully having a little bit of talent thrown into the mix didn't hurt.
Yeah, well, a little bit of that talent is very artistic too. And in going through your store, seeing the pieces that you do, it's very, very creative. I mean, they're not your usual, you probably don't really make the same piece of furniture twice, really.
Very rarely. I mean, there are some pieces that we do as they're become quite popular and they're functional. You know, it's not difficult to reinvent the chair or to reinvent the rocker or the stool, but they all ultimately do the same thing. And as our business has progressed and my passion has progressed, you often seek out, well, what is it that we really do? And what avenue do we really want to take? I mean, do we really want to be mass producing furniture of a specific standard and quality and do it over and over and over again? And I've toyed with that over the years, and ultimately at my age I've just decided that that's just not the route that we want to take. And frankly, building the more beautiful higher end, if you will, where we can really take the time to work with people. This work can often take a long time to get because there's a lot of thought and development into what it may take to bring it to fruition, and not only so it's functional and beautiful, but it has to last. And creating furniture out of solid wood can be a real challenge, working with environmental stresses and things like that, so that ultimately that piece is going to hold up for as long as it took the tree to grow. I mean, that's sort of my ultimate responsibility.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've talked before and everything, and one thing I have to say is that you have a real passion for doing this, and many people in their jobs, it kind of becomes routine and they lose that passion. And is that because you enjoy making woodworking, or is that the artist in you creating new things? Or
I think there's a lot of ingredients that go into this pie, and what makes it really exciting for me is the woodworking element is really second nature anymore. I mean, that's kind of the easy part. It's the ability to work with people, get their vision, get their ideas, visit their homes, be able to walk them through a process, and then eventually, invariably be able to invite them into the working studio and watch the piece progress and show them how it's put together, and even let them throw the first coat of oil on it so that they can see the real wood and the beauty erupt. But as a business person, you've got to be pretty sharp. Markets are always changing, the economy's always changing. Especially in the last 6 or 8 years, things have really taken a toll on a lot of artisans and craftsmen throughout the world. And so being diverse is also a very important thing, and it's also a challenge, and it's fun. It's fun. What is that? What can we do next? What is that new thing that we can create and we can control, but we can carry the same aesthetic that we've created, the same style, and do it with love and passion. I don't care how small it is or how large it is, that we've done for the last 15 years here in Helena.
Oh, so well said. Well, I know lately you've gotten a lot of fame or acclaim because you started making fly boxes, wooden fly boxes, and they're very unique. I mean, and people love them. Tell us how unique they are, and even the way you make them is unique.
You know, this all really came about last summer, and where we do what we do. We have our gallery and we have our furniture, but ultimately, it's not for everyone. And the pieces of furniture that we make and that are not often approached by a lot of folks because of either the time involved or the expense, whatever it might be. And we thought, what is something that we can do that's really approachable and that can still put the artistry that we do and we put in our large pieces into a small little thing. And ultimately, everybody loves a small wooden box.
Yeah.
They just do. People love wooden boxes, be it for jewelry, for knives, what have you. But I just happen to be an avid fly fisherman, and I thought, we're living in Helena, Montana. We have the Missouri, the Madison, the Blackfoot, and all these iconic Montana rivers here. And standing out in front of my showroom last summer, sweeping the sidewalk, and there's these drift boats lined up at the hotel. And I thought, I need to be able to offer these people something that they can put in a suitcase, take home as a gift for themselves or for a relative or what have you. So with a coworker of mine, we started tossing around ideas. And the wooden fly box, that came up, and I really wanted to do it because anymore you go to a fly store or wherever, and they're generally plastic or aluminum or some kind of metal, and that's fine. They have their place. But I thought, is there really a market for a beautifully handmade box? It's functional, it's water resistant, it's going to look beautiful, and you're going to be proud to own it. But how do we make these things and make them fairly quickly and make them affordable? And there was the challenge of the day. And we went for it. And we took different pieces of wood, and we're figuring out different sizes. And of course, this is something that's been done over, and this isn't anything new to the market. Wooden fly boxes, it's like reinventing a chair. They exist, but how can we put our own little flair to it? Fortunately, we had a good reputation and a name and an aesthetic and a brand that we could kind of pump behind this. But we got to the bench and we started whittling away and coming up with prototypes and what's the best hinges to use. And ultimately it was because I wanted to have a box that was sleek like a phone that you could slip in your pocket, that didn't have exposed hinges, finger holes, anything that would snag on a shirt, things like that. So function is first. That's exactly what I do when I design a large built-in in a home. What's its function going to be before its beauty really erupts? Because then the palette of woods is unlimited. We can have it's just like a room full of paint. We can do what we want. So we got on the process and we started, and it kind of took off.
Yeah. Well, what makes it unique is that you bought a CNC machine, and when I hear CNC, I always think that is used for metalworking, but you use it for woodworking, and it's very precise.
It's very precise, and CNC technology has been around in the woodworking industry, metal industry for decades, if not more. But it's become easier to use, more user-friendly, and also I had to get over the hump as well of, I'm from New England, I'm a very Puritan when it came to hand cutting the dovetail joints and really making things by hand. And when you introduce sort of computers and automation of any sort, I had to swallow that pill, if you will. But ultimately, as I looked really into the system of how we would create these pieces, it wasn't really possible to create them in any quantity with good quality and repetition for a good price. So hence the CNC technology comes in, and it probably only does with our programming. Now granted, these are not easy machines to run. You still have a lot of design work to do, and then you tell the machine to go, and it probably does 30% of the overall work of the box. And then the other 70 is all still by hand and sanding and shaping and polishing and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And you come out with a beautiful box that have unique designs, and individuals can even get custom designed ones.
Correct.
But you also make cigar boxes, right?
We do.
That's interesting.
So, well, again, to sort of branch out into different markets, we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves really just into the fly fishing industry. We thought, what are some other industries that we can really branch out into? And ironically, as I fish, often I want to have a cigar on the river. So I'm apt to have both of these boxes. And so we designed our cigar caddy, and it's Spanish cedar, and it's got some beautiful inlays of different things on it, and of course can be completely customized to your liking. But the idea behind that was that the person would go to their humidor or whatever in the morning, and whether they're going to go on a golf trip on the boat, on the river, whatever it might be, they'll grab 2, 3 of their favorite cigars, put them in this beautiful display, close it up. It's going to keep them nice and fresh, smelling good. And then, of course, when you get to where you are and your friends are around and you crack this open, where did you get that?
Yeah.
And you got something that you're really proud of to house your little possession. So that is a product that it's not really it's taking off, but the fly boxes we've really perfected. Those have really taken off. And then, of course, we've got our golf tee caddy that we have in the works, and we have lots and lots of other ideas for wooden boxes that'll appeal to lots of other audiences as well.
Well, I know I made some jewelry boxes for my nieces quite a while ago, and they still really value them because I made them. They're very simple. They're a little box, but people love boxes, like you say.
They do.
But you know, when you start talking about how beautiful your boxes are, and how you take something and take the step up in that it's beautiful, you add artistic value to an everyday object. It somehow makes the experience of using it so much better. And
Absolutely.
That's neat. I've just thought of that a while ago.
Absolutely, because that was the challenge with this, is that I didn't want to create just a product. I wanted to create an experience. So it's not about the steak, it's the sizzle.
Yeah.
And so this item comes beautifully wrapped in a piece of wrapping paper that's got graphics on it, and it'll describe the river that it's named after, some fun fishing quotes, how to take your hook out of your finger, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all the way to where it's placed in a nice little box in and of itself, covered with cedar shavings that we make with a hand plane at our bench. So when somebody gets this as a gift, or even for themselves, as they open it up, they get this olfactory experience because they smell the cedar, and it's like, I'm in the guy's shop.
Yeah.
Because that's what we see, we hear all the time when people come into our studio is, I love the smell. So I can ship this box to Europe, to Maryland, it doesn't really matter. And the second they open it, they can smell our shop. And then there's not just a box there, but there's this beautifully wrapped, clever item that they can unfold and read all these really clever things that they might end up keeping as a keepsake. And then the surprise is really the box itself, which they're going to use, they're going to take it on a float trip, put it on your mantle, whatever it might be. It's designed to look gorgeous and to last. And ultimately, you're proud to own it. You're proud to put your best flies in it and take it down the river.
Show it off. I know you also offer classes. I took an inlay class of yours, and it's interesting in that your studio's downtown Helena, where you also do sales. You got beautiful furniture, you have beautiful art. You got windows overlooking your, I'll say, your woodworking shop, but you also offer classes, quite a variety of them.
We do.
Tell us more about that.
So the classes were a very interesting a bit of diversification for us here a few years ago, where, again, a lot of folks build furniture, lots. But we not only do that, but we wanted to really, instead of just bringing the person to the product, we wanted to bring the process to the person. So in creating our space where you can walk into our gallery and there's these huge soundproof glass panels, people can then watch. And we don't have to stop working. They can watch us work. But all the while, I decided, let's bring those people in and teach them the art of woodworking. And even in that element, there's plenty of woodworking schools, if you will, coast to coast anymore. But they have a much different philosophy than I think I do, where they much more are taking woodworkers and making them better woodworkers. And many of them do it very, very well. We're just taking people and making them be better people, just to have a really fun weekend, learn something new. People never want to stop learning. And because I love it, I'm willing to share everything I know about it, expose people to the equipment. It's a fun atmosphere, it's safe. And we've done hundreds of these in the last few years now, and people just have a ball. And they're becoming more few and far between as we get busier with other things.